Hey, everybody. So let's go ahead and jump into scene three. A little bit of recap. Scene one, we had the big fight. We learn that if anybody disturbs the peace again, they'll be put to death. We meet Romeo and find out that he's sad because there's this girl named Rosaline that he loves, and she's decided that she's going to stay a virgin. So that makes him really upset. Benvolio says, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to get your mind off of that. I'm going to show you other ladies and show you that there's no reason to be upset about this." We then go into scene two, which is we find out that there's a man named Paris who wants Juliet's father to allow him to marry her. Juliet's father lets us know that Juliet isn't even 14 yet. She's only 13. He says it's a little too early for that. How about we wait 2 years? We'll see then. Tells Paris, I'm going to have a party tonight, bunch of beautiful ladies. Show up, look them over. See, Juliet might not even be the best one there. He tells his servant to go take the guest list, round everybody up. Servant can't read. So he finds Romeo, has him read the list off. Romeo reads the list. Benvolio sees that, hey, Rosaline's going to be at this party. Why don't we crash it? We're going to crash it. We're going to find out that, I'm going to show you Rosaline. I'm going to show you all these other beautiful ladies, and you're going to see that there's no reason to even be upset about this. So let's go ahead and jump into Act 3. So, scene 3. Lady Capulet, Juliet's mother, and the nurse come into the scene. This is at the house. This is at the Capulet house. The party is being set up. Everything's getting ready for the big party tonight. Juliet's mother, Lady Capulet, is out trying to get everything pieced together. Nurse, where's my daughter? Call her forth to me. And where's my daughter? Go tell her to come to me. Now, my maidenhead at 12 years old, I bade her come. What lamb? What ladybird? God forbid. Where's this girl? What Juliet? So the nurse is going to be very inappropriate through most of this. I mentioned in one of my other videos about comic relief characters that are in the play to be funny. So that's the nurse. The nurse is one of these characters. So when she says, now by my maidenhead at 12 years old, I bade her come. She's basically like, I swear by the fact that I lost my virginity at 12 years old, I told that girl to get in here. Juliet comes in. How now? Who calls? It's like, what is it? Who called me? Your mother. Madam, I'm here. What is your will? Like, what do you want? This is the matter. Nurse, give us leave a while. We must talk in secret. So she tells the nurse to, we got to talk privately. You leave. The nurse goes to leave. Nurse, come back again. I have remembered me. Thou hearest our counsel. Thou knowest my daughter's of a pretty age. So she's like, oh, you go away. No, you know what? Come back here. Come back here. You know my daughter's of a pretty. You know how young my daughter is. Faith, I can tell her age unto the hour. So it's like, yeah, I can tell you down to the hour how old she is. She's not 14. I'll lay 14 of my teeth, and yet to my teen be it bespoken, I have before. She is not 14. How long is it till Lammas tide? So she's like, I'll bet 14 of my teeth, and honestly, I've only got 4 of them, but I'll bet 14 of them that she's not 14. And she asks, how long is it till Lammas tide? Lammas tide is August 1st. So Lady Capulet says a fortnight and odd days. So she's like a little over 2 weeks until August 1st. Even or odd, all the days of the year. Come Lammas Eve at night, come Lammas Eve at night shall she be 14. Susan and she, God rest all Christian souls, were of an age. Well, Susan's with God. She was too good for me. But as I said, on Lammas Eve at night she shall be 14. That she shall. So she's like, the night of August 1st, or July 31st, she'll be 14. And she says, God rest her soul. Susan is the nurse's daughter. and they were the same age. They were born the same day. Then says, well, Susan's with God. Susan died. She was too good for me. But this girl will be 14 on July 30th. I remember it well. To since the earthquake now 11 years, and she was weaned, I shall never forget it, of all the days of the year upon that day. So it's been 11 years since the day of the earthquake, and that's the day I stopped breastfeeding. Now, the nurse, part of the reason nurse is she's a wet nurse. So a wet nurse is somebody who, if a mother cannot breastfeed, you get somebody who's had a baby around the same time, and they act as a wet nurse so that they will do the feeding. So her and Juliet and the nurse's daughter Susan were born on the same day, so Juliet is feeding off of her. So for all the years upon that day, for I had laid wormwood to my dove, sitting on the sun on the dove house wall. So she's getting a little bit, you know, too in depth here. But she says, sitting in the sun under the dove house doll, my lord and you were at Mantua. Nay, I do bear a brain, but as I said, when it did taste the wormwood on the nipple of my dug, and it felt it bitter, pretty full, to see it tetchy and fall out with the dug. Shake, quoth the dove house, 'twas no need, I trow, to bid me trudge. And since that time has been 11 years. So she's like, it's been 11 years since the day of the earthquake. And I remember that because that's the day I stopped breastfeeding her. I'd put something bitter on the nipple and she tried it and it was nasty and blah, blah, blah. But then the earthquake happened. For then she could stand alone. Nay, by the rood, she could have run and waddled all about. For even the day before, she broke her brow. So she's like, yeah, I remember she was a little girl. She could even walk and run around, but the day before she fell down. And then my husband, God be with his soul, he was a merry man, took up the child. Yea, quoth he, dost thou fall upon thy face? Thou wilt fall backward when thou hast more wit, wilt thou not, Jule? And by the holy dame, the pretty wretch left crying and said, I. To see now, see how a jest shall come about. I warrant, and I should live 1,000 years, I should never forget it. Wilt thou not, Jule, quoth he? And the pretty fool that stinted and said, I. So what she's going with this. Let's talk about the day before all this had happened. Little Juliet had been running around, fell down, and hit her head. And the nurse's husband picks her up and is talking to her, trying to calm down. It's like, oh, did you fall on your face? Yea, quoth he, dost thou fall upon thy face? He's like, did you fall on your face? Thou wilt fall backwards when thou hast more wit, wilt thou not, Jule? He's like, oh, well, when you get older, you won't be falling forward, you'll be falling backwards onto your back. Basically, making another sexual comment. As you can see over here, fall backwards, have sex. So he's like, yeah, you're a little girl falling forward. When you're an older girl, you'll be falling backwards. And the nurse finds it so hilarious because he's making this joke, and Juliet just, as a baby, stops crying and goes, yeah. And she's like, if I live 1,000 years, I won't forget that. Lady Capulet's like, enough of this. I pray thee, hold thy peace. Like, be quiet, please, enough. The nurse says, yes, madam. Yet I cannot choose to but laugh. To think it should leave crying and say, I. And yet I warrant it had upon its brow a bump as big as a young cockerel stone, a perilous knock, and it cried bitterly. Yea, quoth my husband, fallst upon thy face, thou wilt fall backward when thou comest of age, wilt thou not, Jule? And it stinted and said, I. So again, she's like, I can't stop laughing about it. Like, she fell on her head. And when she fell down, she had a bump on her head as big as a cockerel stone. So she's like, and she had a bump on her head as big as a rooster's testicles. And my husband said, oh, well, you fell on your face. Whenever you get older, you'll fall on your back, won't you, Jule? And she just stopped crying and said, yeah. And stint thou too, I pray thee, nurse, I say thee. Juliet's like, please, shut up, stop, you two stop. And the nurse says, peace, I have done. God mark thee to his grace. Thou wast the prettiest baby that e'er I nursed. And I might live to see thee married once I have my wish. So she's like, oh, okay. you were the prettiest baby that I ever nursed. And, this is somebody that also nursed their own daughter. So she's like, you were the prettiest baby that ever I nursed. And I hope that one day I'll live to see you married. And Lady Capulet says, Mary, that Mary is the very theme I come to talk of. Tell me, Juliet, how stands your disposition to be married? She's like, marriage, that's exactly what I came to talk about. So, Juliet, what do you think about getting married? And Juliet said, it is an honor that I not dream of. So she's like, I can't even dream of that honor right now. And the nurse's life, she's like, an honor. Were not I thine own nurse, I would say that thou hadst sucked wisdom from my teeth. So she's basically saying, like, she says it's an honor. And if I wasn't the only person that breastfed you, I would say you sucked wisdom from it. And Lady Capulet says, well, think of marriage now. Younger than you here in Verona, ladies of esteem are already mothers made. By my count, I was your mother much upon these years, that you are now a maid. Thus, then, in brief, the valiant Paris seeks you for his love. So she's like, well, start thinking about marriage. In Verona, girls are already married younger than you. In fact, I was already your mother by the time that you're this age. I was your age. So I'm going to stop, I'm going to quickly say this. Paris wants you to be his wife. And the nurse says, a man, young lady. Lady, such a man as all the world. Why, he's a man of wax. So she's like, the nurse is like, oh, this is a good thing. You've done hit pay dirt here. Like, this is a beautiful man. This is a man that's almost like he was sculpted. And Lady Capulet says, Verona's summer hath not such a flower. So it's like, not even the beautiful flowers in the summertime are as beautiful as him. And the nurse says, nay, he's a flower, in faith a very flower. So she's like, absolutely, he's a beautiful flower. Lady Capulet says, what say you? Can you love the gentleman? This night you shall behold him at our feast. Read o'er the volume of young Paris's face, and find delight writ there with beauty's pen. Examine every married lineament, and see how one another leads content. And what obscured in this fair volume lies, find written in the margin of his eyes. This precious book of love, this unbound lover, to beautify him only lacks a cover. The fish lives in the sea, and 'tis much pride for fair without the fair within to hide. That book in many's eyes doth share the glory that in gold clasps locked in the golden story. So shall you share all that he doth possess by having him, making yourself no less. So she's like, can you love him? Tonight you're going to see him at our feast. Read over his face. And she kind of mentions it like a book. She's like, read over the volume of his face. Read him like a book. Look at every line. See the fairness that's written in his eyes. And this precious book of love only lacks the cover. And that would be you. To beautify him only lacks a cover. So all he needs is the cover to complete this book of love. And so shall you share all that he doth possess by having him, making yourself known. It's like, by having him, you'll share all that he possesses, and you are going to lose nothing. And the nurse says, no less, nay bigger, women grow by men. So she's like, not only are you not going to lose anything, you're going to gain more, because women get big whenever men get them pregnant. Lady Capulet says, speak briefly. Can you like of Paris's love? Juliet says, I'll look to like if looking liking move. But no more deep will I endart mine eye than your consent gives strength to make it fly. So she's like, I'll look at him and see what I like. I'll see if he's likable. But I'm not going to make any moves unless that's what you allow me to permit me to do. Peter comes in. Peter, the servant from earlier. Madam, the guests are come. Supper served up. You called. My young lady asked for. The nurse cursed in the pantry. and everything in extremity. I must wait, I must hence to wait. I beseech you, follow straight. So he's coming in, he's like, the dinner guests are here. Dinner's already being served. They've asked for you. They've asked for Juliet. They're cussing out the nurse in the pantry. Everything's going out of control. I've got to serve the guests, so please follow me. Lady Capulet says, we follow thee. Juliet, the county stays. So she's like, we're coming. We'll follow you. She's like, Juliet, Paris awaits. And the nurse says, go, girl. Seek happy nights to happy days. So she tells Juliet like a little bit of advice. She's like, go, look for somebody who's going to make your nights as happy as your days. And there with that, we've met Juliet. We've met most of our main characters at this point. We have met Tybalt, even though we'll get to meet him a little bit more in scene 5. We've met Romeo and Juliet. We've got a handful of characters that we haven't met yet. But for the most part, all of our main characters, Romeo, Juliet, Montague, Capulet, the nurse, Benvolio, we've met those. We've got a couple more that we're going to meet over the next few scenes. But for the most part, that's all of our main characters. So, give me just a moment, and I'll bring up what I need you to look on later tonight. All right, so work for this scene. Act 1, Scene 3. Same as last time. A few different questions. We give you all the boxes to be able to answer them as you need to. So go ahead and answer the questions, fill this out. Now on 2 of them here, you'll see that, you know, you have like, how long has the nurse known Juliet? If you look here, you've got this little X. You can take this little X and you can move it to wherever you need it. So, you know, that's what you will do on that one and this question over here. The others, you can just click in and type. So go ahead and answer that. And we'll see you back here for scene 4 and 5 to end up Act 1. Y'all stay safe. Take care. See you next time.